Are you Tony Stank?
Hello. Welcome back to Delivery for Tony Stank, an MCU podcast. We're back here with episode 6 of the podcast, which is also meaning that it's episode 6 of What If on Disney Plus. First of all, again, thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. I know, obviously, again, being off with the timings for the podcast coming out, but that's because I was on Todd's channel doing our Bo Burnham review. We were basically waxed lyrical about Bo Burnham's latest special Inside, so please go to twitch.tv/Todorov28 if you want to catch that. I think he's going to put it on YouTube as well, but the VOD will still be available over there. But yeah, please go and give that a watch. A couple of things before we get into the actual podcast today. First of all, we have our Ko-fi set up. So Ko-fi, if you don't know, it's kind of like Patreon, but it's not Patreon. You can sign up for with Delivery for Tony Stank. It's for as little as £2 per month, and it gets you certain benefits. So I'm trialing it. I'm just kind of playing about with it and seeing what happens. All the proceeds will go back into the podcast and stuff. So if you sign up for as little as £2 a month, you can make it more if you wish. If you so wish, you don't have to. But you'll get put into the monthly draw to win Marvel merch. Now, this first one, and I know obviously if you're listening, you won't be able to see this, but basically the first draw will be for this Captain Carter pop, a What If Captain Carter pop. If you're watching, you can obviously see it right now. It's kind of bright and stuff. It looks really cool. But if you're listening, obviously you won't be able to see it, which is fine, but it looks really awesome. And then the other two are two other What If pops that I have as well. And so there's going to be at least 3 months worth of it. But I mean, don't feel you have to do it. It's just something I'm trying to like trial and give you guys something back for supporting the pod and stuff like that. It's just a bit of fun, I suppose. But yeah, feel free to get involved in that. I'll put it's all in the link tree. But I'll put the Ko-fi link in the description as well. If you do decide that you want to get involved, so that's great. Secondly, please, if you know someone that likes Marvel or wants a new podcast to listen to or watch, please feel free to recommend this podcast to them. Of course, if you feel strong enough about it to do that. It's just we have things like obviously the YouTube where you can watch, you can jump back in, and then of course Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts. So there's heaps of ways you can listen and watch. And if you're watching on YouTube, please remember to subscribe as well. And of course follow our Twitter at DeliveryMCU, where we will where we always discuss with you guys how things are going and stuff. And I think that's it. Was that all I wanted to talk about? Oh, no, finally, I want to talk about what we have coming up. So obviously this is episode 6 of What If. There's going to be 7, 8, and 9, and then that'll be that for the first season of What If. I'm going to see Shang-Chi a week on Tuesday, the 28th. So I will be doing a Shang-Chi podcast between the 28th and, well, I'll probably get it out hopefully mid-October, I would say. Because it's going to take a little bit longer because it's obviously like a movie that we're talking about. I don't know how I'm going to format that, because like with this one's with the What Ifs, I can obviously go frame by frame, or sorry, like scene by scene basically, and chat about them. It'll be a bit different for a movie. Otherwise it'd be like a 4-hour long podcast, which I'm not necessarily going to do. Then the next one after that will be Eternals, coming out on the 5th of November, and then Hawkeye, the TV show, is coming out the 24th of November, I believe it is. In the middle of that, depending on timings, we may have some specials that come out, but I'll let you know. I'll let you know if that is the case. Obviously, again, follow our Twitter at DeliveryMCU, and we will. I'll keep you up to date as to what's going on with that. But that is it. That is the housekeeping all done. Thank you so much again for the support. let's get fully in to the podcast. Okay, so episode 6 of What If. First impressions. I really enjoy this episode. I really enjoy this episode. The way that it actually, for me, it actually felt like it was giving us the parallels of what would happen if something did change. With some of the what ifs, it's been a bit as we talked about, it's been a wee bit different than just a standard what if question. There's been things like who done it and what the fuck is going on, that sort of thing. This time it is a purely straight up what if Killmonger saved Tony and what the ramifications for that would be. So yes, really thoroughly enjoyed it. To be fair, one of my favorites, I would say, of the whole thing. That's a big call, isn't it? But yes, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So it starts off, we have the basically a recreation of the start of Iron Man, the desert in I think it's Iraq, isn't it? But this time we also have the Watcher overlooking our scene. Again, as we spoke about, a lot of this thing is going to be kind of touching back to what we've spoken about before, like the likes of the Watcher getting closer and closer to us. You can basically see him as a full-bodied figure, literally standing over us. And yeah. So we see the scene, almost scene by scene recreation. Sorry, it's Afghanistan. Tony's having a joke with the soldiers in the convoy. He says about the no gang signs and stuff again, which he says in the film. And there's a massive shootout, a bomb for the cars in front of the convoy, and then a big shootout. Tony manages to scarp away behind a rock, and the missile lands right next to him. Again, in Iron Man, this is the missile that then caused shrapnel to be embedded into his body, and essentially in his bloodstream going towards his heart, which meant that he had to do something to try and stop that happening, which is how he then built the mini arc reactor, which was placed where his heart is, basically, that pushed the shrapnel away. But instead of the bomb exploding beside Tony and popping the shrapnel, just as if he was just like popping it in, little carefully putting the shrapnel into his heart. No, instead of the shrapnel being fired into his body, into his fleshy skin, Killmonger grabs the missile with his bare hand, lobs it into the air, and it explodes without even touching anyone. Killmonger then goes on his little, takes a few pop shots. Now, if you remember, when we learn about Killmonger in Black Panther, he's said to have been a former SEAL that did like undercover work in Afghanistan, all that sort of things, and he got his nickname Killmonger from racking up kills like they were a video game, essentially. So we know him to be like a skilled soldier. His armor's pretty cool as well. His armor is really cool. Apparently, it's based around. And I don't know much about Dragon Ball Z, but apparently it's based around. Is it Vegeta or something? I think it's Vegeta. I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna quickly Google it because I know that some people are pretty up on their Dragon Ball. Yeah, Vegeta. I'm sure I'm saying that's right. And that was apparently Michael B. Jordan's request. It was based on Vegeta in Black Panther, but it looks more comic-y, more kind of anime-y as well in this one. Michael B. Jordan is back. Voicing Mr. Killmonger. Again, Tony is not Robert Downey Jr., which is it's understandable, really, isn't it? But yeah, Michael B. Jordan again, fantastic actor. He's been in a lot of top movies, a lot of stinkers as well. I'm looking at you, Fantastic Four. But yeah, he's a very good actor. Very good actor. So yeah, he saves Tony, takes out the remaining 10 rings members that are trying to kill, assassinate, capture Tony Stark. And as they're walking away, the Watcher, what he says is, heroes are not born, they're forged in darkness. So we then get an animated kind of montage. I suppose it is a montage, isn't it, of a couple of different clips. It's really cool. So we get the first clip of an animated Tony Stark with his arc reactor in the cave in Afghanistan, creating the Mark I Iron Man armor. And we then move to an animated version of the Avengers like hero shot from the first Avengers movie. It's a little bit different. We focus on Iron Man a lot more, which is absolutely fine because obviously the story is based around Tony Stark. But yeah, it's a circle shot of like the Avengers stand there with all their weapons and stuff, and it's so well recreated. Then we get the final Iron Man shot, the animated version of the final Iron Man shot from the heroic Iron Man shot from Endgame. Now, if you've not seen Endgame, and you don't know what happens, spoilers. Also, if you haven't, go watch it now. If you haven't, I mean, it's been out for what, 3 years now, 2-3 years now. We're into phase 4. Go watch it. Anyway, the part when Iron Man gets the Infinity Stones and does his "I am Iron Man" and clicks, that is done as an animation as well, which really cool. It's a wee bit, again, they're kind of changed a little bit from the actual movie, but again, and this is going back to something that we've spoken about before, the lighting that they use here and the animation of it is just phenomenal. The lights of each Infinity Stone coming down from his knuckles, and of course the lighting from the wreck in the background with the fires that are there. Yeah, it's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We then get to the Watcher again overlooking a press conference that Tony Stark has taken, telling us that without Tony Stark going through what he did in Afghanistan, the age of Iron Man would never come to pass. So we have this this Iron Man, this Tony Stark, sorry, because he's not Iron Man at all. This Tony Stark, with like no repercussions, no character building at all. He's just Tony Stark. He's the playboy billionaire philanthropist. Easy for you to say. Tony Stark, who hasn't had to grow as a person, who has been able to just continue being his immature billionaire self. And I'm not going to say I wouldn't be like that, because if I had billions, I would probably be that same. So I don't blame him. So yes, there is a press conference that he takes and points over to Killmonger, and the Watcher tells us that a hero's never made and a villain gets another chance. We see Obadiah Stane in the background as well. He is not voiced by Jeff Bridges, by the way, just to make you aware. Now, Stark's asked a question, were you injured? And his response is that, no, but I did spill my drink and it was a 26 Macallan. Still pretty sure it's a war crime. Now, a 26 Macallan, again, as I've spoken about before, in my preparation for going through this podcast, I watched the episode a couple of times, take notes, and watch new rock stars on YouTube who delve into Easter eggs and breakdowns and stuff of every episode as well. Please go watch them because they are incredible. They worked out that a 1926 bottle of Macallan is $1.2 million per bottle. So, yeah, that is very much a war crime. So again, it's showing us that he doesn't have almost the respect for life and the respect for what he would have went through if he was captured by the Ten Rings. And he's actually even asked by the next reporter, did you learn any lessons while in Afghanistan? And his response is that he did. He never traveled anywhere that doesn't have a Four Seasons. So again, we're basically told in there's no punches pulled. We're told that he's not changed at all. He's just his normal Tony Stark that we saw before he was captured by the Ten Rings and before he kind of learnt a few things. He's even drinking as well at the press conference, which makes me think that if you're not aware, there was a storyline about Tony Stark and alcoholism. So, trigger warning for alcoholism if it's something you're affected by. But yeah, there's a disturbing storyline in the comics around Tony Stark and his battle with alcoholism, and we kind of get a touch on that in Iron Man 2. When he has his big party at the house and gives away his that's Iron Man 3, isn't he? Yeah, has a big party at his house and all that sort of things. And it kind of leads me to think that that's sort of the route he would have gone down or is going down at this moment in time. He's then even asked, has this experience changed you? And we actually see a little bit of vulnerability in him when he says he saw young Americans killed by the very weapons that I created to protect them, and realized we have to do better. Now, obviously, you're kind of thinking, okay, fair enough. So he is thinking that there's a better way than just making weapons to kill people. But he then says in exactly the same breath that we need to build bigger and fight badder for them. So again, it's essentially just drilling into us that he's not changed whatsoever. He's just normal, cynical Tony Stark. We're told that Killmonger is then being the new chief security officer of Stark Industries, which Happy isn't too happy about, because in the movies again that was his job that he ended up getting. And Tony Killmonger embrace. So it just shows us again how close that they've become, or how close Killmonger has become in Tony's circles, basically. Obadiah Stane tries to weasel his way kind of in as well, but the reporter Christine, can't remember her last name. What is her name? Christine Everhart asks a question. She's played by Leslie Bibb, who's the lady that played her in Iron Man as well. Asks a question about what Killmonger was doing in Afghanistan, and how it was strange that on the day of the attack, his unit was meant to be stationed about 400 kilometers away. Tony gets a bit offended by this and asks if she's implying that he had advanced knowledge of the attack, but Killmonger says actually, yeah, he did. He found out the plans to assassinate Tony Stark and found out that they were bankrolled by Obadiah Stane. Drops all the evidence needed and pops it on the internet, and then Obadiah Stane is then detained, or he's knocked out by Happy and then presumably detained. So this is because, again, in Iron Man 1, we find out towards the end that Obadiah Stane bankrolled the plot to kill or to capture Tony, and then he becomes the Ironmonger, the big old, the massive Iron Man kind of looking thing. But obviously none of this will happen because Killmonger stepped in and stopped basically the whole plot for Iron Man 1. Okay, so we're now then into a party that Tony is obviously thrown at his place, where they are kind of celebrating the alliance or the friendship that they now have. Tony's wanting Killmonger to be the new COO, which was Obadiah's job. Says he wants him 24/7. Killmonger says he's more of a soldier, but Tony then says it'd be like Beach of Sundance. So obviously Tony the brains and Killmonger the brawn. Now Pepper is there as well, and she doesn't seem too thrilled at the idea of this. We'll start to see her potentially having doubts about some stuff. And And yeah, again, Tony's drinking as well. Pepper then heads out to the balcony where she meets Mr. Rhodey, and this time it is Don Cheadle's Rhodey. So at this point in the movies, we would have still had Terrence Howard, but yeah, we actually get the Don Cheadle version, where they talk about Killmonger. They obviously want to find out more about him, or sorry, Pepper does. And Don Cheadle tells her, or sorry, Rhodey tells her that he was essentially going around killing folk, assassinating folk. And they obviously reference Oakland as well, where obviously we know his dad was killed by T'Chaka as Black Panther in Oakland, back in the 80s, I think it was, or was it 90s? 80s, I think. Anyway, Pepper makes a pretty interesting remark where she says that a lot of people come around looking to get their moment in the sun with Tony Stark. And it's my job to sniff out exactly what they want with him. Then Rhodey asks, "On what do you smell?" and Pepper says nothing, which is it's quite an interesting kind of thing. She then says, and that's the problem, everyone wants something. So we obviously, or Pepper knows that there's some sort of ulterior motive to it. Stark then takes Killmonger to his little workshop factory thing where he's got his cars and the miniaturized version of the Jericho missile that he that almost killed him. Killmonger uses a Howard Stark quote, says the peace means having a bigger stick than the other guy, which, yeah, as I say, was a Howard Stark quote. And then the arm, the sort of AI arm that Tony has in his garage, takes it from there. They speak about fathers, and Killmonger explains that his dad died too of gang violence. But as I said, we do actually know that Black Panther, or T'Chaka as Black Panther, killed Killmonger's dad, and Killmonger even says in Black Panther that he found his daddy with claw marks when he was a kid. So he knows that it was Black Panther that had killed his dad. So yeah, it's a bit more Killmonger manipulation that we are aware of. Obviously, Tony Stark isn't too aware of. They kind of chat about weapons being in the wrong hands, and and sort of lament on that. Killmonger does this. Obviously for us, it's really clear that he's like trying to manipulate Tony, but it's like he goes, "Oh, never mind." And Tony goes, "No, what?" And Killmonger says, "Oh, it's just my doctoral thesis. I developed plans for an automated combat drone." Like, that's so clear. Like, I don't know why Tony's not like, "Wait a second, is this guy trying to play with me?" But I suppose I don't know whether it's the fact that they're potentially a bit merrier than Tony normally would be. He's a bit more receptive to ideas due to being having a bit of a buzz on, maybe. I don't know. But they discuss it, and they discuss what Killmonger made. It was basically what he says is try to save essentially soldiers' lives, because they're not having to be put into battle. It'll be the drones or the machines that would kind of do it instead. Tony then agrees to have a look at the building the science fair project, and brings up his thesis, brings up the model that he created, Project Liberator. Now the plans for it looks like an anime Gundam, and again, apparently that's to do with Michael B. Jordan's love for anime and things like that there. As we spoke about, before, when he has his Dragon Ball Z inspired armor, this is another thing that he's kind of taken from his genuine love of anime and things like that. Tony even, then makes a sort of reference. He says he needs a Bloody Mary because hangover's kicking in. Again, we're talking about the potential alcoholism or the potential more liberal use of alcohol that he would use compared to what he does in the movies after his near-death experiences. We've then got a building montage where they look at the different ways to create this model and talking about self-sustaining energy as well. Tony almost comes up with the arc reactor, the mini arc reactor that obviously he uses he makes in the films, as I say, to save himself. But then he says it's a bad idea. Then they come onto the topic of vibranium. Vibranium can essentially be work as like a power source. And that they need to hook up. Tony knows the right guy who we then find from Pepper's disgust is Ulysses Claw, Andy Serkis. If you don't remember, we first saw him in Age of Ultron, where he makes deals with Ultron about vibranium and stuff there, because in the comics Ulysses Claw is Black Panther's main villain guy essentially. They come up with a plan to work out how to get the vibranium from Claw, but obviously to not include Tony there, as it doesn't as it would be bad for the company, because Stark Industries don't work with arms dealers. If things go wrong, the shareholders will flip out. The company will obviously lose money and stuff as well. They'll need to secure some kind of diplomatic cover, and they end up agreeing that they'll send Rhodey there. Rhodey will go as a U.S. Air Force, as U.S. military cover, which means that they will have immunity from that, I believe. So yeah, Rhodey goes instead. Obviously, he ended up going to a salvage yard in the African coast that we're told, and it's like a big container ship. Like you see it, it always reminds me of Grand Theft Auto 5, I think it is, where there's the big cranes that take the big shipping containers and pop them on the boats, and they're stacked 6-7 high. And obviously it's like an abandoned version of it. Now, so Rhodey is there with Ulysses Claw, and they're kind of doing the old chatting about stuff, and it's kind of got an undertone of darkness and not evil, but that they're doing bad things essentially. But Rhodey has Killmonger in his ear, keeping him going. So they get onto the topic of vibranium, and Ulysses Claw takes out a vibranium spear, which he says cost 10 million. Rhodey then makes the comment that Tony spends 10 million on a slow Tuesday in Vegas, and that gets them onto the sort of the big product, which seems to be vials of vibranium. Which I thousands of, maybe hundreds of thousands of vials, and the doors suddenly close. Lights kind of go dark, saying they've been breached. Now, we're going to go back to lighting. We're going to go back to the lighting of a scene in the show. Again, the use of natural lighting, as well as the flashlights here, it just ramps up the tension, because we see men falling, and then they're obviously their dead silhouette is from behind, with the flashlights facing kind of towards us. There's a couple of other moments where people are kind of shooting into the air wildly, miss something, and we see Black Panther flying out, and he ends up taking out pretty much the whole mercenaries, the gang that are there. through different methods, through using the shadows, using his obviously his superior strength, speed, agility, and again, yeah, he manages to easily dispatch with the whole of the whole of the gang. Now there's a final blow that he has on one of the people when he punches him in the stomach, and it's slow motion. You see like a bright yellow light coming out. It's like almost like a cone, and we see Black Panther illuminated in parts by this this yellow light, and the body going flying, dropping the guns. It's such a well made scene again, and it is like something out of a comic book. Apart from animation, it just looks once again phenomenal. We spoke about how great the fight scenes are, or have been in this series. We spoke about how interesting the usage of lighting has been. We spoke about how brutal the fight scenes have been as well. And this it's over quickly. It's quite a quick fight scene, but it's got all the same sort of elements to it that the others have had, and it's brilliant to watch. Absolutely incredible to watch. We then see Black Panther walk up on Rhodey while getting shot, because obviously the suit is vibranium, is bulletproof. And again, the only light really is Rhodey's flashlight in T'Challa's face. T'Challa tells Rhodey that her quarrel's not with you. It's obviously about Black Panther and Wakanda are obviously against Ulysses Claw. Black Panther wants to take the vibranium back to where it belongs, obviously Wakanda. Again, this is actually Chadwick Boseman back again. This will be the, I think, is this the third? I know he did like for a second. I know he did 4 episodes where he recorded lines for. I can't remember if it's the second or if he showed up in. No, because he showed up in the zombies one as well. So this is the third one. So there's gonna be one more episode with him as Black Panther. So because he'll be obviously in the episode 2, which is when Star-Lord is T'Challa instead. Episode 5, which is the zombies one, and then this episode as well. Killmonger turns up with a sonic blast thing. Now, the sonic blast technology was used by Obadiah Stane in Iron Man 1 to incapacitate Tony, when Tony has found out about the whole plot to get him caught by 10 rings. But it's obviously this time it's on a much larger scale. And yeah, completely incapacitates both T'Challa and Rhodey. Their veins in their face are popping out and stuff. And yeah, Killmonger then actually like genuinely kills Black Panther. We see the lifeless hand on the side, and Killmonger actually takes the claw, the sort of like glove with the vibranium nails, and gets into the vibranium. Rhodey's kind of still alive, and he just asks, why, and yeah, Killmonger kind of says about the oppression, about how he asks him why do you wear the uniform of your own oppressors, fight for them and die for them. Rhodey's viewpoint is you got to be part of the system to change the system. But obviously, Killmonger is of complete different viewpoint. Tears off Rhodey's American flag, says you can burn it down, and stabs him through the stomach with the Black Panther glove. It's then set up to look like it was Rhodey that was the potential killer, or potentially the one that created this whole situation. And then Claw actually comes out into the light again, and is working with Killmonger. Now, we saw this at the start of Black Panther. Oh no, it's not the start of it's not the start of it. I think it's a bit in, but we saw this in Black Panther where Claw and Killmonger are actually working together to get the vibranium. In the film, obviously they go into a museum and basically ransack the museum for the weapons and the mask as well that Killmonger takes. And Killmonger takes the spear from Claw, and they talk about loading up the product. We then have this very somber kind of parallels with the Dora Milaje taking the casket that obviously holds T'Challa's body, and the US military with a casket with obviously Rhodey's body in it. Through the New Rockstars videos, it tells you that the writing, the glowing writing on T'Challa's casket actually says Wakanda forever. Again, I don't know how they translate it and do that. They do a lot of good. The New Rockstars, definitely check them out. But in the US military side of things, we have General Ross, we have Pepper Potts lined up, and we also have Killmonger there as well, saluting Rhodey. Now, obviously, it's we know that it was Killmonger that actually killed him. Tony's sitting watching the TV, and it's the news. T'Chaka is making a speech to the UN about how they won't stand by and let people get killed, blah blah blah. And Killmonger turns up to as well with the spear. Says that we've says that he's got a present for him. Tony then shows Killmonger. He does he does a bit of detective work. It's the hologram of the details of the scene where where Rhodey and that died, and shows that Killmonger was there. So Tony is well aware that it's Killmonger that's killed Rhodey, and of course T'Challa as well. The room then locks, and Tony reveals the Gundam, the drone that they were working on together, obviously with the vibranium stuff. Because of during the montage, the building montage, they had obviously Killmonger almost putting his AI, his moves, his sort of demeanor stuff into the robot. It's able to deal with him pretty easily, as as half the moves that he does is known ahead of time, because the AI has obviously worked out what he's going to do. Basically, it's the typical like machine versus human kind of thing, especially when the machine is able to work out what you've done and stuff. Now, Killmonger then works out that he needs to do something a bit he calls it freestyle, so it's a bit unknown, something that he doesn't normally do in things. So again, this is where the human side of it is comes into play. Killmonger kicks a table at the drone, dodges a few punches, gets to the Dora Milaje spear, and is then able to defeat the drone, destroy the drone, and he actually lobs the spear at Tony, and it gets caught in his like collarbone, just underneath his collarbone, I believe, just the shouldery kind of area, and he's pinned up against the wall. They have a discussion about how, well, sorry, it's not a discussion, it's more Tony talking and grimacing while Killmonger stands over him. But Tony says for a minute he thought that they were it was them against the world. Killmonger says that we're not fighting the same battles. But and Tony kind of says that they sound the same, but Killmonger's remark is the difference between those two is that Tony can't see the difference between them. And Tony dies. Tony dies again. So, I mean, Tony Stark has a pretty rough go of it. He dies in pretty much every single reality that we've been in or that we've seen, whether it's the movies. Obviously, dies in Endgame. He's been a zombie. He died here. It's not great for our old Tony Stark, is it? You got to feel for him. So we're then getting the aftermath of Tony's death. The bag, is that called a bag? I don't even know what it's called. That they zip people up in. I don't know. Anyway, we see them zip that up, and General Ross is there with Killmonger and with Pepper and Happy, and they're speaking about how Tony was killed with a Wakandan spear, and they think it's like a hit job from Wakanda. Happy asks how none of it was caught on security. And Pepper tells us how Jarvis wiped clean conveniently while giving a knowing look over to Killmonger. She's obviously aware or very much doubting and suspicious of him, but Ross just brushed it off, saying about how he's a highly decorated naval officer, and Killmonger makes a couple of references to the fact that Tony and Pepper were somewhat intimate. This then leads General Ross to tell them that they're going to be putting the Liberator drones into production. And the Pepper says about the board need to be consulted, but that is overruled by the Patriot Act, because they're now war. We get another montage of the drones being built. Killmonger leading them, and again his cool kind of Dragon Ball Z armor, and they make their way off to like thousands, hundreds off to Wakanda. Ulysses Claw takes Killmonger to the edge, the border of Wakanda, and Killmonger ends up actually killing Claw, and bringing him to the Dora Milaje with a offering of justice, a gift. He says. Killmonger's then taken into the Wakandan throne and meets with T'Chaka, Shuri, and the mum. I can't remember what her name is. The Queen Vibranium, Queen Wakanda. And this is where Killmonger reveals that he is T'Chaka's nephew. And T'Chaka welcomes him with open arms, telling him that he's now home. But there is a war here, so there's no time to rest. The drones make their way towards Wakanda. Killmonger gives them all this intel about how they're made with vibranium, and how they operate with a hive matrix. Sorry, Shuri starts talking about how they operate with a hive matrix, communicate with each other to maximize their strategy, and they're trying to work out how to cut them off from each other, basically come off from the network. And they come up with a plan that the Wakandan shield, the border, will cut them off from that. So it's a way to disconnect them from the AI. So essentially, they're going to open the shields, let the drones in, then close the shields again, which is quite a risky strategy that Shuri doesn't really like. But Killmonger's able to manipulate T'Chaka and the others to allow them into taking part in this plan. The Wakandans line up against the drones. Ross on the complete other side at the control center for the drones, and it looks like it just looks like a vast space where there's nothing there, and Ross is a bit confused the fact that there is nothing there. Then when the Wakandans put the shield up on Killmonger's orders, they then get a look at the Wakandan city, and Ross is, I mean, because we've obviously seen Wakanda through Black Panther, the movie. Everyone else in the universe, or in this universe, sorry, have never seen Wakanda. It's always been hidden. Because we've got to remember, this is a completely different universe from the one that we know. But it's still, they've never seen Wakanda. And the sort of reaction they have to it is pretty telling. And Ross actually says the rumors are true. The drones then march into Wakanda, and the shields are popped back down. So at the control center, they lose actually lose the control of the drones, but Killmonger actually has some sort of control with him, which turns on the rest of the drones, and they continue on their mission, plodding towards him, and the Wakandan army then charges at the drones, and there's again a fantastic war battle scene. So the fight scenes that we've seen kind of recent or in the show have been relatively relatively small scale. But this one's quite a big scale battle where you've got the thousands of Wakandan warriors against all the drones. So Angela Bassett, that plays the queen, is back, and she's a beast. Like, she is one scary lady, able to jump over the shields and easy dispatch with lots and lots of the drones. Killmonger jumps onto one of the rhino things and comes in and helps out as well. It seems almost too easy. Things are going too well for the Wakandans when we're watching it. That they're slicing through the drones with no issues. Now Killmonger actually saves one of the Dora Milaje from the drones. I thought it was going to go down the route of he was going to let everyone die, or at least maybe kill some of the Wakandans throughout the battle, with the guise of it being the drones and being the humans and things like that as well. So I wasn't sure how it would go, but eventually they do actually win, and Killmonger fights side by side with the Dora Milaje, with the Wakandans, and it's a relatively easy battle actually for them. Yeah, and it means that the drones are defeated and Wakanda wins, basically. So the US military is defeated. We get a shot of Killmonger overlooking the sunset that he spoke about with T'Chaka, that his father spoke about to him as a kid. Killmonger gets to feel and see the sunset, and T'Chaka comes up behind him and asks him if it met his expectations, and he says it exceeded his. The Killmonger again. So Killmonger, it looks like his whole manipulation, or his whole point up until now, is to essentially come back to Wakanda, and obviously not going to rule. Probably will one day. But he actually gets to become the next Black Panther. And we see the whole ritual that they use to go to make someone become Black Panther, and Killmonger actually goes into like this ethereal plane where you see previous Black Panthers, and he actually talks with T'Challa. Now in the last one, obviously in Black Panther, sorry, we see T'Challa speaking with T'Chaka, and it's quite an intense chat they have about, was it worth it, cousin? Killmonger says, yeah, he did what he had to do. T'Challa asks, was it for the throne? But Killmonger says it was for vengeance and for his dad and for people who've suffered through oppression. While the Wakandans just sat back and watched. T'Challa now Killmonger now talks about how he has power now, and this is what he has been thriving towards. We see Killmonger in, it's like a gold kind of lined Black Panther suit that he has now. It's not so where T'Challa's one was kind of silvery vibranium colored. Killmonger's has like gold lining to it. It looks pretty sweet, and it also has the dots, the like cuts that he has on his body that signify the kills. It has that almost sewn into or made into the suit. It looks really cool. It's like, how the black Spider-Man suit looked a lot cooler than the other ones in the original trilogy. Well, this looks a lot cooler than the other Black Panther suits, even though it's a villain. T'Challa says that he says that power unearned can be a very volatile force, very volatile force, and it'll get the best of you eventually on your plane or on ours. Ross then talks about the fact that they're going to be sending heaps of missiles to Wakanda to pretty much essentially destroy it, and Pepper is pretty shocked by this. She then goes into Tony's office and sees Shuri sitting there. Now Shuri obviously wants essentially what is the same as Pepper, and that's to show that Killmonger is actually doing this for his own benefit, and the bodies he's laid in wake, everything that he's done has been shady AF. And yeah, we're then at the end of the episode, where just after Shuri talks about her and Pepper teaming up to essentially show the world that Killmonger's not who he says he is. Yeah, so that is the episode done. It ends on this cliffhanger for us. So yes, that is the end of the episode. As I say, it leaves us on a wee cliffhanger. I would love to see more of that. That for me is what I expected from What If, where not necessarily completely out there stories, which those ones are ace. I love the fact that we saw the likes of the Star-Lord being T'Challa instead, and the zombies as well. But this is like exactly what I thought we'd get from What If, and it's the slight changes that then have almost worldwide or universe-wide really ramifications. I loved it. Absolutely loved it, especially seeing the parallels as to what we know as compared to this. Killmonger as a character is fantastic. His manipulation, his obvious manipulation, obvious for us anyway, and not obvious for the other characters, really sold it for me. And you know, the whole thing, it's not completely out there in terms of what could potentially happen. You know, we've seen things like General Ross being manipulated. We've seen things like, you know, Shuri being the smarter one out of all the, or being the brains of most of the Wakandan kind of stuff. And of course, you know, Tony struggling with like the likes of alcoholism and being swayed and not manipulated, but being like dragged down a path by the people around him, depending on who they are and things. So it was very in character with what we know, but also very much a different story that I loved, and I would love to see more of it. I would love to see what the impact that is on what that impact has on Shuri and Pepper, and who they can get, who they can or how they can actually show the world that Killmonger is the one manipulated. It was essentially going to be a war between Wakanda and America, and what that implications have as well, because that could mean implications. You know, does Wakanda fight back? Because if they do, then America is pretty much screwed. But by this time we don't have the Avengers. You know, there's not even need to be sort of spoke about. It was spoken about in the post credits of Iron Man 1, but not during the actual movie, which the movie needed Iron Man. It needed Tony Stark as Iron Man to then get the Avengers. It's yeah, I think it's very, very interesting. An interesting question to ask, and I love the as I say, the ramifications of it. Yes, that was it. Now the next episode is episode 7. I don't think there's much out about that just quite yet. As I say, we've now just got 7, 8, and 9. So there's literally 3 episodes left. I don't think, as I say, I don't think there's been anything out about 7. No, there's not any plot out yet. But we're coming towards the end of the series, so I'm interested to see if things are going to start to line up. Especially as we've seen, there was a screenshot of Captain Carter and Doctor Strange that we didn't see during the Doctor Strange episode. Does that all now start to tie up? The end of the zombies, do we get any of that? The end of this one, do we get any further with that? I don't know. It'd be very interesting to see. The Watcher, he's obviously still getting closer and closer to us. What happens in the last episode? Is he going to be literally in front of us the whole time, staring at us through the screen like I'm doing to you right now? I don't know. It's going to be very, very interesting to see. But let's quickly move on to Twitter. We had let me just see. I think there's just the one thought that was put in, which is fine, absolutely fine. I understand that some people maybe don't watch it until later on. But we had Fluid Highway, who said, "Love this ep. Always want more Killmonger, and again, unlikely characters interaction is what we need. Still not sold on the open endings, but I definitely want more." So yeah, I totally get that. As I say, with the open endings, it's something I'd love to see. A few of them moved on, like especially the zombies with zombie Thanos with his Infinity Stones. Obviously, this one as well. The open ending for the murder mystery episode as well. That would be very, very interesting to see how like the Captain Marvel and Captain America work together. I know there was a comic storyline about that. So yeah, I completely agree, Fluid. I completely agree that is something I'd want to see more of. But again, if you want to get featured on the podcast with your thoughts, I always put out a tweet on the Wednesday night. So after I've watched the What If episode, just reply to that tweet with whatever your thoughts were, and we will get it on the pod, just as we have done with this one. So that is us. We're done again for another week. I can't believe we're 6 weeks in. It's crazy. I'm really excited to. I was speaking to Zoe about this today, actually, and my wife. I'm really excited to get to a point where, because the weekly episodes are taking their toll on me a little bit. It's going to be great to be able to spend some more time on the movies that come out. So as I say, we've got Shang-Chi coming out. Or sorry, Shang-Chi is out, but I won't be watching it until a week on Tuesday, just because of all the restrictions stuff that have been going on and the timings and stuff. So we'll be making a venture out into the big bad world to see that a week on Tuesday. Get a podcast out of that one, which, as I say, I'll have it out probably mid October. It gives a couple of weeks to get working on it. Then we have Eternals coming out on the 5th of November. So again, a couple of weeks even after the Shang-Chi one comes out. So that one will probably be out towards the end of November. Then we have the Hawkeye TV series coming out the 24th of November. I think it's 24th. So we'll be back to weekly episodes for them. But in between the Shang-Chi episode and the Eternals coming out, I think what we're going to do is we'll try and do one of the first specials. Now, the special is going to basically be me talking to someone about their favorite Marvel film. That's kind of the idea behind it. We'll talk about what they enjoyed and not necessarily go frame for frame or scene by scene, but we'll chat more in depth about it, trivia about it, Easter eggs from it, that sort of thing. I don't know who it's going to be yet. That's going to be something that we'll work out with timings and stuff. But look for that, as I say, on Twitter. But again, as I say, please give us a follow at Delivery MCU on Twitter, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Even follow if you're listening on Spotify or anything like that. That would be fantastic. I appreciate all the support. Again, if you do want to be entered into the draw for the Captain Carter pop that you can see here, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening, you won't be able to see it, obviously. Where are we? Just so it's not light. It's a really cool pop. What I can do is I can even put a picture of it on the Twitter. But yes, if you want to get involved in the draw for that, join the Ko-fi. It's as little as £2 per month. You sign up for it. You can cancel at any time as well. So basically, if you signed up for that month, you'll get entered into the draw. That'll be at the end of the month, and we'll work things out from there. As I say, it's a little £2. You can do more if you want. It's up to yourself. All the money goes back into the podcast. There's going to be, I'm planning to do more sort of giveaways and things like that as well. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm just kind of trialing it, and we will see how it goes and basically work it from there. But I really do appreciate all your support. It's incredibly humbling. It's ace to see that there's people that have the same sort of loves for Marvel as I do, and it really warms my wee heart, warms my wee mini reactor that I've got in the middle of my shirt that says I'm done. Oh, I was going to do as well, just to let you know, I'm probably going to try and get some delivery for Tony Stank merch done as well. So keep an eye out for that, but I'll keep you updated on Twitter. But anyway, guys, that is the end of another episode. Thank you so much. Give me a shout on Twitter if you got any feedback or anything that you want me to talk about in the next episodes, or anything you want me to hear my opinions on. That'd be fantastic. But guys, thank you again for everything, and we will see you in the next one.